let's all go ahead and if you have SolidWorks open, go File, New, and we're just going to create a new part. We're then going to take our top plane and create a sketch on it. So for me, when I do that, I go Alt-S. We can use here a center rectangle. It just saves us a step. It's very rare that I use this. I typically do a corner rectangle and then draw one of these manually, but that's fine. Honestly, for this demo, it doesn't matter what size it is. We're also, God forbid, we're not doing a master sketch. Oh no, Noah's going to kill us. We're going to extrude this right away. So, okay, I want you guys to be aware of a couple things. One, I've never pointed this out before, but there's this thing called draft right here. Okay, so let's say I want to extrude this object 25 millimeters. No, this is weird. My scale's weird. Maybe I should have told you guys what size to make this. That's fine. It doesn't matter. Just make sure it looks proportionally roughly similar. Notice that you can click this draft and you see, guys, what happens. It tapers in, right? If I click the other one, it tapers outwards. If I check this box that says draft outwards, it tapers outwards. Now you can play with this dimension. You'll notice the more extreme you make it, the more tapered it gets. For all of your rule of thumb, for all of, here we go, my brain's gonna stop working. For a rule of thumb for all of you, to follow roughly, safe draft is about 3 degrees. As long as you have one though, you're good, honestly. Most engineers that you're working with, comfort level for them is 3. Now it depends, that's very situational, okay? If you have a very smooth surface, do you think you want more draft or less draft? This is kind of a trick question. What? Yeah, really smooth surface.
Oh, I need less draft.
That's why I said it's a trick question. It seems like you would need less because it's smooth, it's easy to come out. So here's the problem. If you have a very smooth surface, there's a bigger chance you're going to see tool marks that's left on it of the two things sliding apart. If you have a textured surface, you can hide manufacturing errors easier. You can get away with less draft because all of the noise, the frosted look, will hide some of those tool slipping marks that might happen.
That's why cars have orange peel now. You get really icy.
Texture hides everything.
Yeah.
Texture is a good design detail to if you have a very sexy surface that you spend a lot of time and you want it to look good, you want to render that full gloss so that it's really pretty. If you are using a budget manufacturer and you're not confident in their ability to match what it is you want to specify a texture on your model. You guys are familiar with Pantone. It was mentioned earlier. There is a texture equivalent called Moldtec. Are you guys familiar with this? Oh, maybe you're right. It might be. I don't know. I thought it was Moldtec. I don't know if this is their website. Anyway, yeah, I think this is them. You can basically specify Moldtec. You can get a Moldtec book, just like a Pantone book, that has all of these different plastic textures. And you can, if you guys look really carefully at this table, that's maybe not a good example. I don't know, just start to observe plastic objects around you. You'll see that texture. If we go in Keyshot, there are Moldtec materials built in.
I was going to ask about this one. On this one, you can see right here, it's kind of like a wave, and then here there's kind of some.
Yeah.
Is that just from the heating and cooling of the mold? Do you think it gets cooled up?
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I'm just pointing out this draft here, again, 1 to 2 degrees. Here, I'm just going to go, 1 to 3 degrees. 3 is safe. I would say for most of your needs, 1 is okay. So let's just go ahead and I'm just going to do 3 on this part and just click check mark. And again, it should be drafting inwards. So now let's take the top plane again, create a sketch on it. And what we're going to do, we're going to take our first sketch, we're going to copy it. So I'm going to click on the sketch and just click convert entities. Yeah, not the top, not the skinnier part. I mean, yeah, that's a good observation though. Look, if I take a top view, you'll notice the sketch is bigger than where it ended up. Again, because it drafted, it tapered inwards. So on this one, also hit extrude. We want to go the opposite direction this time, and this time don't put any draft on it and don't merge it. So again, everyone, you should see you have a solid bodies folder here with two parts. One's drafted, one isn't. If everyone's caught up, what we're going to do, we're going to hide this first body. And I just want to show you guys how to do draft as an individual command. So there is a draft feature. Sometimes you'll build a complex part and then you need to add draft at the end. But you can use this part here, this feature here by clicking on it, and it will bring up a new feature dialog. Let's see, it defaults to neutral plane. Then there's parting line, step draft. Let's go with parting line. We want our parting line in the middle, so we're going to select this. Although, wait, let's see, direction of pull, that might require, that does require a line. Never mind, I'm sorry. I take that back. We're going to start with neutral plane. I'm sorry. And then we're going to take the top plane. That's our neutral. I believe this arrow is the direction the part pulls. I'm going to check this. My God, sorry, hold off a minute. Yeah, did that work? Okay, cool. I'm sorry. I did not check this beforehand. Okay, so we put our draft command. We went with neutral plane. I said pick top plane. The arrow is the direction. I just checked this, and now of course I'm blanking. I believe it was pointing up, so that is the direction that the part will be released from the tool. So it drafts, it tapers the opposite direction of the arrow. So now, of course, we want to pick faces to draft, and we're going to pick all of these vertical faces all around the way. Again, because this is a unique feature, you can always select just 3 faces. Maybe you only need to draft part of it. I don't know. But for this demo, let's just pick all 4. Let's again go to 2 degrees and then click the check mark. I'm sorry, I lied. The arrow, okay, I'm sorry. The arrow needs to point down. The arrow points the direction that it tapers. I apologize. I switched it and then I mixed it up. So sorry, let me start again. We pick the top plane as the draft. Make sure the arrow is pointing the direction you want it to taper, okay? So in this instance, we have it pointing into the part because we want the part to taper. And then click the checkbox. And now we have 2 things. Essentially, we achieve the same thing in 2 different ways, is all we did, okay? For this class and for project 3 specifically, I just want you guys, when you put part lines in your objects, and again, when you start by mimicking, the part line should be in a logical place to begin with. If you start to make adjustments though, just put your part line in somewhere that seems logical, and that's all I ask. If it's slightly off, I'm not gonna, I guess I'll give you guys more details when we get closer to that, but like, all I ask is just have it be logical. It doesn't have to be perfect, okay? So you do not need to build draft in. I just want to show you guys, give you guys these tools. Last thing that I want to do, okay, so any questions on what we've done so far? Okay. For what it's worth, I will sometimes use draft as a design element. I will sometimes, Trevor, before you were asking about how I cut that face on my microwave, sometimes I will cut a face with severe draft, like 45 degrees, 25 degrees to get a built-in bevel. That's perfectly acceptable. It's not what it's designed to do, but it's okay. An engineer might turn their nose up at you for doing that, but that doesn't matter. Okay, last thing I want to do is show you guys know how to shell, right? A shell just gives a part a cavity. So I'm going to hide that bottom body we just made. I'm going to go up here and pick my shell feature. And here, this is asking what face do you want to be hollow. So logically, I would pick just this interface here, but you can pick more than one face, right? I could pick these 2 and click the check mark, and you'll notice right now these are both open. But what I want you guys to do is just to pick this bottom face here. Typical wall thickness. I mean, I could grab some calipers and I want to say this is like 1 to 2 millimeters. But let's just go 2 millimeters on our wall thickness here. So what I'm showing you guys is what's called a standard clamshell design. This is a standard clamshell, right? Any idea where it gets its name from? Looks like a clam, right? Yeah. Suggest something else. Yeah, and exactly, yeah, like it's like two pieces that puzzle together, okay? And this is very standard. Again, if you start to observe objects in your environment, like, not this one. Anyway, whatever. This is my best example right here. They have this design. So the inside is then shelled. If we hide this bottom face again, we're going to look at a new, where is this here now? Oh my gosh, I'm totally blanking on. I'm sorry, guys. I'm looking for. I thought it was under tools. No. I apologize. I'm looking for draft analysis and I'm totally brain farting on where it is. There's like, I thought it was under evaluate, tools, but it's not in here. Where would, here we go. I'm sorry. It's under display. Okay. If you guys go to view, display, it's right here, draft analysis. If you click on that, it's going to bring up a new dialog box. This is not a feature. This is just like an evaluation tool. It's asking you what plane to select. If you select the top plane here, under view, display, oh, sorry, yeah, I missed it too. It's right here, draft quality, HLIH. Yeah, you gotta go lower. Here it is, draft analysis. Again, it's asking you where you're like, what your neutral plane is. And again, this is kind of like the plane that the part line exists with on top of. So here it's on the top plane. And here, everything green is one direction, everything red is another direction. If you ever see like green within a pool of red, it's a bad thing. So here, let me edit this and I'll show you maybe what that would look like. So let's say I don't draft this face. Shell this, and then in fact I could, on my top, I could add like negative draft onto this face. Did I do that in the wrong direction? Yeah, my file's all goofed up now. Here, let's turn the shell down to 10. Now I put my draft analysis on this tool. If you ever see anything like that, that's called an undercut or reverse draft. That's bad. Again, a lot of this is like higher level stuff that I don't necessarily expect. Again, just use to the best of your knowledge knowing that there is draft to put your part line kind of where the object is at its widest point, where it kind of opens up. And then again, for our needs, maybe if there is one main takeaway here, is that when you do have a part line, it is sufficient if you just put a fillet running around the edge, you can have them touch. I would put like a 1 millimeter fillet on there maybe, or it depends. It's totally up to you. I probably wouldn't go bigger than 1 millimeter, and I probably wouldn't go smaller than like, I don't know, 0.5, 0.2. But now when you render this, having that slight like cut like that, that's going to look good. At this point, you guys don't need to follow along, but I do want to just show you a quick way how to do a real part line if you wanted to do that. Again, you can take the face where your part line is. Whoops. Copy one edge. You could even just like offset this 1 millimeter, 2 millimeters. Make like a low extrude of about 2 millimeters, let's see, 4 millimeters long, 5. Again, we can observe this and like look at how long this wall is. That's not more than 2 millimeters, whatever. We're just gonna say, we'll say 3. And then on this other part, you could do the opposite. Or in this instance, you know, if we just give this a slight gap now of like 2 millimeters, again, we're going to get this kind of realistic view. I guess they've misaligned quite a bit, but I think you guys get the point, right? You do a small offset on one of the lips and extrude it. On the other one, you would do the opposite lip, and then you get something that looks like that. Oh, yeah. You guys did do a part line in project 1, or yeah, the tutorial. You're right. Yep. Any questions on this? Yeah. That's a good question. Let's look at what I have. I just didn't save what we did. That's fine. Wait, which orange face? Oh. Gotcha. I see what you're saying. Let's look at that so we can talk about it. Yeah, I remember. You were talking about this one. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You can always split the part at the end. And you could, if you were trying to be you could use the draft tool if you were trying to be more accurate to add that feature. I mean, here's kind of like where I stand with this, okay? If you put the part line here, I might question you. Because this is reverse, this is like very steep going the opposite way. Like even here, it's somewhat questionable, but it's okay. The lower it is, like a little more believable it is. And hopefully we can have these discussions on like one-on-one. Where would you, it wouldn't be pretty, but where would be the safest place to put the part line here? Towards the bottom would be what I would do. Like for me, I would put the part line right here, right where this started to turn away. So I would lower this a little bit. The safest place for the part line would be vertically, running up and down, because then that's totally moldable, but that's not pretty. So I wouldn't. Now, if you guys put the part line here, again, I wouldn't. I guess I don't want to make too grand statements. Again, I just want you to just have considered effort behind it. Just like at least give it some thought. Like if it's a very obvious violation, that's when I think I'm gonna like call you out. So to me, like right in the middle here would be a pretty obvious violation because this is like, it's reversed. Lower here, it's okay. You get more away with it. I don't know. Does that answer your question? It's always safest again to do it just like right in the middle. That's typical, but let's look at absolutely. You can build, and in fact, that's what I would recommend. I would almost, in fact, recommend you build the form all as one to begin with. I mean, that is the other way you could use draft analysis. You could literally use that draft analysis tool um, and see like where the part line should be. So I'll give you an example here. Right? Like where that yellow line is, that's probably where there'd be a good part line. I can change this and see, hey, could I put the part line this way? Yeah, that kind of makes sense. How about on the top? And then it's kind of like here it's telling me where the part line should be. It's right here, but look at that. That is where the part line is. So that there's no mistake there. Simply fill it, and that's all I expect you guys to do. Yeah. I did these part lines, I think, with a split line. Or no, let's see, where is this? Here it is. It's right at the top. Yep. And I built it in halves. Honestly, if you're mimicking one of these objects, chances are the part line's in the right place to begin with. So you could keep that in mind that like, okay, maybe I shouldn't have something that tapers the wrong direction from where it's already tapering. I should just exaggerate a taper. So here, let's look at what I did, my redesign. I moved a part line to the top here to split this. So like, that's the one criticism I have of this one, is this part isn't moldable. It is moldable with have I showed you guys this isolate feature, by the way? You can like select a body. If you right click on it and say isolate, it hides all other bodies. So it allows you to work just on that. And then you can always click exit isolate when you're done. If accidentally you do something, all that's doing is you're saying, hey, out of all of these body lists, only show me this one. That's all that isolate's doing. My criticism on this from the internet is that moldability wise, and you can see here, like this is pretty rough. It's not even shelled, which again, it's fine. You guys, depending on your needs, you probably don't need to shell it. It's not a requirement. The needs being that if the interior of the shell is visible, then it should be shelled. If it's completely hidden, I don't mind if it's a solid body. To mold this would be pretty complex, actually. It'd probably be molded. You would probably have a split here, left to right, and then you would have a core coming out of here. So this would be a 3-part mold, left to right, and then something coming out of the inside. Speaking about that, I forgot to mention, there is another version of a part line, which you don't need to worry too much about. But sometimes you have an object that gets a part line from just 2 pieces of tool meeting, but it's within the same part. So up until this point, we've been talking about part lines as like a body coming off of another body. You can have a part line on the same body where 2 tools slide together but come apart. I can't think of any examples that I have right now. I'll pass this part of the camera around. Look on the shoulder here. If you look really carefully, you will see a very thin piece of plastic right here. That is a part line that exists on the same body. Yeah. Okay. So you would probably see like what I'm trying to say in many words is there would probably be a very slight visible line along this edge, unless what? How would you hide? Let's say you wanted to hide that line that would appear on this edge from the 2 tools coming together. You're along the right track. You're thinking along the right ways. Yeah, actually, Okay, I'm glad you mentioned silicone. Silicone allows for some reverse draft because it's flexible. So if your material is like rubbery and can pop, it's more forgiving. I was going to say mold tech. You would want to hide it with texture. If you put texture on there, it would hide it. Okay. I moved the part line here because I built a handle off of it. I don't know how, I did not check my draft analysis, but we can see. Again, I'm not going to be grading you guys with draft analysis, so don't worry. But I can like select this face here. So let's see, this is, I do have an undercut. This is an undercut right here. If I was sending this out to an engineer, they would request for molding, they would request that this green would come straight down at this point. Again, this is slightly more advanced stuff. I'm not too worried about you guys. Like I'm trying to arm you guys with info, all the knowledge. If this is starting to like really push the boundaries of like detail. Any questions on this? Okay. No, there's project 4.